Satellite images recently revealed that China is busy building 10 times more nuclear missile silos than it had before. However, analysts say everything may not be what it seems. Here are the details. The New York Times reports that analysts have found a second new missile base in China only days after another new base was found. Identified via satellite imagery, the new missile base in China's Xinjiang region may eventually include 110 silos, according to a report by the Federation of American Scientists, or FAS. It is the second apparent silo field uncovered this month by researchers, adding to 120 silos that appear to be under construction in the neighboring province of Gansu. For decades, China has operated around 20 silos for the liquid-fueled ICBMs, called the DF-5. Now it appears to be building 10 times more, possibly for housing its newest ICBM, the DF-41, according to the FAS report. The New York Times says the new silos are clearly being built to be discovered. The most recent silo field is in the eastern part of the Xinjiang region, not far from one of China's notorious Uyghur re-education camps in the city of Hami. The road network linking the different silo construction sites also makes the area look suspiciously like a massive nuclear base on satellite images. For decades, China has maintained only around 300 nuclear weapons, but that appears to be changing under President Xi Jinping. At the same time that China is cracking down on dissent at home, assuring new control over Hong Kong, threatening Taiwan, and making far more aggressive use of cyber weapons, it is also headed into new territory with nuclear weapons. Nuclear power is a complex, multifaceted issue containing strong pros and cons. However, if you're looking to make a case against it, one word does a very good job for you: Chernobyl. After the meltdown in 1986, it became a watchword for the dangers of nuclear power. New reports of nuclear reactions discovered smoldering, like embers at a barbecue, in an inaccessible chamber at the site tell us the legacy of that meltdown is still developing. Here's what you need to know. Scientists have recorded a rise in fission reactions around the destroyed nuclear reactor at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, according to New Scientist. The plant is surrounded by a megastructure called Chernobyl New Safe Confinement, and sensors around the structure have registered increased neutron emissions, according to Reuters. Originally, the Unit 4 reactor at the Chernobyl plant experienced a meltdown in April of 1986, after an unexpected drop in power during a safety test, according to Science Alert. Explosions of compressed steam released as a result of the meltdown sent out radioactive material across Europe, helping lead to the premature deaths of what could be tens of thousands of people. The concern now is that an increase in neutron emissions could create an uncontrolled nuclear fission reaction and further explosions. In nuclear fission, a neutron collides with a uranium atom and splits it, releasing energy and additional neutrons. These neutrons then collide with further uranium atoms in a chain reaction, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. The increase in neutron emissions may have been caused by changes in rainwater levels since the installation of a new shelter over the site in 2016, according to Reuters, citing scientists at Ukraine's Institute for Safety Problems of Nuclear Power Plants. According to New Scientist, the issue may relate to one chamber, known as subreactor room 305/2 in particular. Room 305/2 is thought to contain large amounts of radioactive material, and the exact amount of rainwater in the room promotes or reduces the likelihood of fission reactions. Large amounts of water, as there may have been previously, slow neutrons down, preventing them from being captured by other nuclei. Meanwhile, if there's no water at all, neutrons can move too quickly to be easily captured. After the installation of the shelter, it is speculated that there may be just the right amount of water to facilitate reactions, which may explain the increased neutron emissions. Neil Hyatt, nuclear materials chemist at the University of Sheffield, sought to play down the risks of an explosion, telling New Scientist, "We're talking about very low rates of fission, so it's not like a fizzing nuclear reactor. Our estimation of fissile material in that room means that we can be fairly confident that you're not going to get such rapid release of nuclear energy that you have an explosion," he said. However, perhaps less reassuringly, he added, "But we don't know for sure."
After surviving a massive earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear meltdown in 2011, Japan's Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant is now dealing with 4 different leaks in its walls. According to NHK Japan, there are 4 coolant leaks at 4 different locations of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station. According to Tokyo Electric Power Company Holdings, also known as TEPCO, the coolant has been found seeping through pipes located in the nuclear station's underground wall of frozen soil. This wall surrounds the facility's reactor and turbine buildings. The leaks are specifically located in the pipes between the plant's number 2 and 3 reactor buildings. TEPCO found the leaks in late 2019 after noticing a reduction in coolant liquids in its tanks. The company estimates it has lost a total of 20 cubic meters of coolant due to the leak. The cooling liquid is an important tool in disaster prevention for the plant. As it circulates through the underground pipes, it freezes the soil surrounding the reactor buildings. This keeps groundwater from flowing into the nuclear station. Although a leak at a major nuclear station sounds alarming, TEPCO assures that the chemical composition of the cooling liquid is commonly found in snow-melting agents and therefore is not harmful to the environment.
Today, almost 10 years since a massive earthquake and tsunami struck Japan in 2011, the country is still struggling to decontaminate the radioactive mess that is the Fukushima nuclear power plant. 3 of the plant's nuclear reactors went into meltdown when the tsunami broke through a seawall and flooded the plant. As the facility's cooling systems failed in the days that followed, the reactors melted down and tons of radioactive material were released. Much of that radiation was trapped in floodwater and water used to cool the runaway nuclear reactions. Most of the radioactive isotopes have been removed from the water by using a complex filtration process, but one isotope, tritium, cannot be removed, so the water has been stored in huge tanks which will fill up by 2022. Japan's government has now announced that it will have to release the 1.23 million tons of radioactive water into the ocean when its current holding tanks start to run over in 2022. Environmental and fishing groups oppose the idea, as they fear that the radioactivity in the water will harm sea animals and the people who eat these animals. However, many scientists say the risk that it would pose is low. This is the Pacific paradise of Tahiti. France used the surrounding region in the 60s to test its nuclear bombs, and now it seems that radioactive fallout on islands like Tahiti had been much worse than France estimated. Here are the details. The Guardian reports that France has greatly underestimated the impact of its nuclear tests in French Polynesia in the 1960s and 70s, according to new research that could allow more than 100,000 people to claim compensation for cancer. France conducted 193 nuclear tests around atolls in French Polynesia, including 41 atmospheric tests that exposed the local population and French soldiers to high levels of radiation. The new study's modeling of the fallout from the Centaur bomb alone was quite shocking. Centaur was the last atmospheric detonation before the test moved underground. Using meteorological data and data on the size of the bomb's mushroom cloud, the team plotted the radioactive cloud's movement. The cloud was predicted to head north, but never reached the predicted height of 9,000 meters, instead staying at about 5,200 meters. There it was blown westward, passing over Tahiti, where no precautions had been taken to protect the population. The study suggests Paris had underestimated contamination on Tahiti by as much as 40%. A quick quiz question for you. Faced with a rise in radiation above safe levels in the area around a nuclear power plant, what should you do? Should you A. calmly raise the alarm, find the cause and fix it? B. change your definition of safe levels and deny anything is wrong? If you answered A, you're one of those boring, sane people. If you answered B, you might just be working for China's National Nuclear Safety Administration. Here's what you need to know. There is an imminent radiological threat at Taishan nuclear power plant in China's Guangdong province, according to CNN, citing a memo from French company Framatome, which part owns and operates the plant. Documents sent to U.S. officials by the company have also accused China's National Nuclear Safety Administration of raising its own acceptable limits for radiation leaks into the surrounding area to avoid the plant being shut down. In a separate statement, Framatome's parent company, EDF, explained there had been an increase in the concentration of xenon and krypton gases in the primary circuit of reactor number 1 at Taishan, according to Reuters. These elements have radioactive qualities. According to CNN, EDF described production of these gases as a known phenomenon caused by a degradation of the housing of the fuel rods. They added that this housing is the first of 3 barriers between the rods and the outside. Taishan is the first plant in the world to operate a next-generation EPR nuclear reactor, a design that has been subject to years of delays elsewhere, according to The Guardian. A 2018 report by FactWire detailed an array of problems at the site. As of May 30th, radiation around Taishan had reached 90% of what was already a revised limit, according to a Framatome memo to the U.S. Department of Energy, cited by CNN. The memo suggested that the Chinese plant operator may now be pushing for China's National Nuclear Safety Administration to further increase the plant's shutdown limit. A statement published on the plant's website Sunday night local time said environmental readings for the plant and its surrounding area were normal, according to CNN. What's more, publicly Framatome has issued a carefully worded statement saying that according to the data available, the plant is operating within the safety parameters. But you don't have to be a nuclear physicist to see that this is dodgy territory. In fact, you don't have to be much of anything for 3 reasons. Number 1, Framatome's warning was sent to the U.S. Department of Energy, asking to be allowed American technical assistance in order to resolve the issue. A message like this is of course not going to go down well with their business partners in China, and so isn't a decision taken lightly. Number 2, Framatome's own message described the situation as urgent. The situation is an imminent radiological threat to the site and to the public, and Framatome urgently requests permission to transfer technical data and assistance as may be necessary to return the plant to normal operation. Its memo read, "We have to presume that nuclear power plant operators do not just throw around words like imminent and urgent for fun." And number 3, most importantly, if you look closely at the plant's claim that the radiation levels are normal, you'll notice that it's potentially meaningless if you're prepared to just change what your definition of normal is. According to the Framatome memo, China's National Nuclear Safety Administration has revised its radiation level limit to more than double its initial figure. And the conclusion from the French operating company to the U.S. Energy Department was, this increases off-site risk to the public and on-site workers. The extent of that risk remains unclear, and according to the BBC, the xenon and krypton were released into the atmosphere deliberately, not by accident. However, the fuel rod issue that caused the buildup of those gases poses questions for the plant, and simply changing safety limits in order to cover that up is a dangerous game to play. Furthermore, it adds to suggestions of a somewhat lax approach to safety at the site, going back to before it opened. According to FactWire, after weaknesses were found in the French-designed reactor vessel heads used at the plant, China's National Nuclear Safety Administration only required the plant to develop a testing method for its own reactor vessel head as soon as possible. We don't know about you, but here at TomoNews we use the phrase "as soon as possible" for things like ordering lattes, not for checking if our nuclear reactor's working. What's more, in the months before the plant opened in 2018, the very same National Nuclear Safety Administration published a separate inspection report cited by FactWire, which listed 20 areas in which Taishan could improve. It may well be that some of these are normal teething issues that always occur before any major construction opens, and the report was obviously designed to eliminate them. But once an authority has agreed to double its idea of safe limits on radiation, it's probably not unreasonable to question some of their other decisions too.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the TomoNews family. Thanks for watching.